Okay, so somehow my second video got deleted, and that's going to be where I show you how to um, start the layers. So this is what our project looks like when we're completely done. Okay, so you can see there's a bunch of different layers where you know, your sea creatures are going to be, and it'll show you kind of depth as well as value. So I'm going to show you how to measure your first layer, because that's kind of the hardest one. After that, you kind of trace them all. You're going to need a ruler again, and you're going to need a pencil so that you can make your marks on your paper. So we're going to be measuring 1.25 inches. The reason 1.25 inches is because each of our layers of our black paper where we folded them was 1 inch. We don't want to be able to see that black paper. You don't want to see too much of the black paper in this area, like around here. So, you know, like in here, we don't want to see that. So we have to make the white paper just a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to draw my little dash marks. And look, it's almost like an extension of the line here. And that way when I go to draw my line across, I can just line it up with the edge of my paper and line it up with the little dash marks I make and just make my straight line across. Okay? Whereas if you're trying to draw your lines and instead of drawing them out this way, you draw them this way, you're not going to know where to put your line. You're not going to know where to line it up. That just seems to be the common mistake I've seen with this project so far when kids have been trying to draw their lines. They've been drawing their dash marks going the wrong way, and then they don't know where to actually draw their line. Okay, so second one. And I'm just going to line this up with the edge of my paper and line all my little dash marks up. And I'm just going to draw it from there. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Measure from here, 1.25 inches. So it's 1 inch and then 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down from that inch mark. Okay. And that's how you know what 1.25 inches is. 4 of those make up 1 inch. So 4 of the quarters, that is. Okay, so we're just going to line that up and draw our line. Okay, and then last one, just need to measure 1.25 inches going all the way across this way. Okay, I think most of you, for those of you that were doing the project, because I know I'm going to use this for more than 1 year, but for those of you that were doing the project at the end of first semester, year 2025, 2026, most of you guys have already gotten this far. If you haven't, just follow those instructions on how to get this. So now the next part we need to do is to draw our little, basically the part that we're going to cut out. So this kind of squiggly line. And the only real rule with that is you can go in further. So I can come like this, but I cannot go past this line. I can't cut into here. Okay, so I can go out like this. Okay, but I don't want to go past that line. And you don't want to make too many squiggles on the first layer because you are going to have other layers down below, and you can kind of get more squiggly as you go. Okay, so if that was my first layer, my next step would be to erase these outside lines, okay, so that all I'm left with is that squiggle line in the center. To make your life easier, if you color it before you cut, it's probably going to make it a lot easier to color. Otherwise, you're going to wind up hitting the edge of your paper and either ripping it or almost ripping it, and it's just kind of annoying because your color pencil will keep getting stuck on the edge. Whereas if you're doing this, you can go over the line a little bit and it won't be a problem because you're going to cut it out anyway. Okay, so first layer's like that. So then whatever color you decide you're going to use, like I used purple, so I know I don't have very much purple left because of the fact that I used it. So I would color this whole thing in very light, nice and even, but light. Okay. And it's okay if I go over the lines a little because like I said, I am going to be cutting it out. But it's not okay, like you don't want to scribble. So this all should be nice and even, nice and light. You can use the side of your pencil. It'll give it a nice kind of shaded look. I'm going to sharpen this. Try not to have to sharpen it too much because I don't have very much pencil left. I'm just trying to make it nice and even. And one thing I said before in the last video that got deleted somehow, whatever surface you're shading on, your color pencil is going to pick up any little divots or texture that's in it, okay? Apparently I drew my koi fish on top of this sheet of paper, so you can kind of see the little indents, like you can see the koi fish coming almost like a little white lines, and that's because I drew on top of this sheet. So, but I didn't know I was gonna have to do this whole video over again, so I thought I was done until I went to upload it to YouTube and it wasn't there. So I don't know what happened to it. I don't know how it got deleted. But no matter. So this being your step 2, okay? Your step 1 was your, folding the black paper accordion style or zigzag. And then this, measuring the paper 1.25 inches, going all the way around, and then giving your little, the cutout area that you're going to be doing, the squiggly kind of cutout. And now, after we color this, we're going to cut out the center, and then you're going to need 4 other sheets of paper, okay? Well, actually 5, because you're going to need one for your sea creatures too. So now that I've got this kind of shaded in, you want to do it nice and even, nice and kind of all the same, so that you don't want to have dark areas and light areas. But the way to cut this out, because you don't want to cut across, if you cut across this, you're going to create a weakness in this side, and then it could get messed up. So instead, what we're going to do is take it and don't fold it all the way, but kind of curve it, and then just take your scissors and snip it, okay? And then let go, so that you're not really folding. Like, notice how it's not really folded out here, but it's just folded right in the center. And then you can, if it makes it easier for you, you can cut out a little circle and then work from there. But you're going to cut along this whole line. So I'm going to try to do it in the camera. It's kind of hard. But all I do is kind of stay along the line, and I rotate my paper. If I move my paper instead of moving my scissors, it's easier. So I just kind of move my paper back and forth with my left hand as I cut with my right. And that can sometimes make it easier to control, cutting around these curves. Okay. And just pull it back. Okay. Last little bit. There we go. Okay, so now we have our center part. So the next stage would be to get another piece of copy paper. Okay, and you are going to trace. Well, you don't really have to trace, because if you trace, that's kind of giving you an extra step you don't really need to do. But you're going to hold this here, and you want your next layer to be smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of make sure I'm going to go in a little bit and just kind of give myself my squiggly line. It doesn't have to follow the same exact line as you had before. You know, it can kind of go differently. Doesn't have to be quite so, you know, weird as I just did mine, but that's what you're going to do. So then all of this is going to be, like, this next layer you're going to color darker, okay? So I take my color pencil, which, where did I put my color pencil? To my purple. Okay. Let me pause for a second to find my color pencil. Okay, got my color pencil. So now I'm going to take the same color pencil that I used for the first layer. Okay, so the same one that I used for this top layer, I'm going to do my next layer, but I just want it a little bit darker. And if you put your top layer on top and look, see, it should just be a little bit darker than your top layer. Okay, and you're going to color this whole thing in again, even out here, because you don't want any white to show, because if you look at this, the final project, if you look at it, you're going to be able to see all of it because the sides are open. Okay, so if I didn't color all the way out to the sides, you'd be able to see that and it would look weird. Okay, so we want to make sure that we color the whole thing. Okay, so as you can see, since I already did this, this is just me showing it again so that, you know, there's actually a video of it. You're going to do the same process for each of the layers. So you color this whole thing, color all the way out to the edge, and so then you've got your two layers. Once you've got this all colored in, you're going to cut around your new squiggle. Okay, you're going to fold this in the center just like we did before, and, you know, fold it, snip it, and then cut around the inside so that the whole outside layer is solid, like there's no cuts in it. Okay, and then you're just going to repeat the process. The only one that's not going to have a hole is the all the way bottom. Okay, so that's your fifth sheet of paper will not have a hole, but your first one, second one, third one, fourth one, all of these have a hole in them. Okay, so that you can see down to the next layer. Okay, so you just need to make sure that each one is gradually getting darker as you go. Okay, that's another reason why you really want to pick a common color that we have over, you know, unless it's your own color pencils where you know you're going to be able to find it. You want to pick a common color because you got to use the same color for each layer. If you don't use the same color, it's not going to look right. It's not going to be a value scale. We're trying to do a monochromatic, which means one color value scale. So if you don't pick something that's common, if you pick a strange color and then either you can't find it or someone else picked that same color and wound up using it all up, then you're kind of out of luck and you have to restart. And we do not have time to restart, at least not this semester. If this is somebody saying it next semester, then, you know, that's a different story. You might have some time, but nobody wants to restart a project anyway. So just pick a common color. Pick a color that we've got a lot of in the classroom, or if you're using your own color pencils, pick one that that's not really worn down. Like I would not pick this color had I not already used this color for my other one. Also be careful because it's really easy to get really dark. So this is actually getting probably darker than I need it to be. I probably need it to be more like that value, and this is getting too dark. So if that happens where you're going too dark too fast, you can take an eraser and erase it down some, just so that it's not getting too dark too quick. Because if it gets too dark too quick, then you're not going to be able to have, your next layer won't be, it'll get too dark again, and then by the time you get to the bottom, they're all going to look like the same shade of purple or blue or whatever. So if I lighten it up a little bit, notice it's still darker, but it's a little bit lighter so that my next layer would be able to get darker, if that makes sense. Okay, so continue to shade around the edge just to make sure it's not too dark. Okay, I'm going to sharpen this. And remember, each layer has to go all the way out to the edge. So I'm going to take my pencil and just get lightly shade out to the edge. The part that you need to make sure is hold on, I don't rip my paper. I need everything that's going to be seen in here to be the same value. So I need to make sure that everything that is past this cutout is going to be like the same value. And then afterwards, like when I go to shade all the way to the outside edge, it doesn't necessarily have to be as dark as the inside, because there's going to be a shadow from the layer above. So it's all right if it's not quite, if you don't color it quite as dark, but it needs to have some color. It cannot be white. If it's white, then it's going to stand out and it's going to look weird and it's going to look unfinished. So just make sure you get this all. So I'm doing like this just so I know how dark to make it. Like I said before, if you kind of go into the center a little bit, it's okay because you're going to be cutting that part. I'm going to give myself a little line so that I know where the edge of my cutout is, because it'll make it easier for me to know, okay, well, this part needs to be nice and dark. So I know in all this area, it's got to be all that darker value. And I'm trying to use the side of my pencil too, because that tends to make it neater. I'm rushing right now only because I've already done this whole video one time and it like I said, somehow deleted. I don't know how. Okay. So let's get this on there. And I'm still going to have to color all the way out to the outside edge. Okay, but you'll get the idea. Like if I show you like this, see, well, let me give, you don't want to see any white of the paper. Okay, so you kind of get the idea that it's going to get darker. So then you cut out the center, and then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to draw your next layer, and then you cut out the center of that one, draw your next layer, so that in the end you wind up with 4 layers that are cut out. So, you know, one, let me point with my pencil and make it easier. 1, 2, 3, 4 that are cut out. and then your fifth layer solid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, cut out. Fifth one, this bottom one, solid. Okay, so you can kind of tell. All right, so I know I didn't show you each and every single one, but you get the idea. You're going to cut this out, and then you go on to the next one. Cut this, cut the next one out, and you keep doing it. And you got to color all the way out to the edge so that when you see it, you're not going to be able to see any kind of white showing through on the sides. Okay, so I'm going to end it there. Send me an email or anything if you have any questions, and I will be there on Friday to continue to help you. But I really want you guys to have all those layers cut out so that all we have to do is either draw your little turtles or your little koi fish. And if you wanted to draw a koi fish are kind of easy. They tend to be kind of curved, so you can kind of draw like that to start, curve it like this, bring this around, and it's going to get skinnier as it gets towards this tail. So I'm going to bring it around like that, give it its tail, so it kind of goes out like that. It's got 2 little fins down here at the bottom, and then it's got 2 bigger fins that kind of come out like this, and they get like a little, okay, and then you can draw a curved line here, and then draw a zigzag like that, and then draw an eyeball over here, an eyeball over there, and there's your koi fish. Okay, if you're going to draw some kind of like turtle or something, turtles are fairly easy too. You can just, turtle's probably the easiest, but so draw kind of an oval or a circle. Okay, that's for the shell, and then it's going to have the head, 1 fin, okay, back legs, and a tail. Okay, now the thing that's kind of cool about a turtle is obviously its shell. So they've got these little kind of shapes going around. Okay, and that's what kind of makes the turtle look cool. So you will have different shape, like, or different sized ones. You can look online and see, I'm not even looking at a visual aid for this, so you can probably draw a better one if you're looking online for it. Koi fish, I've just drawn so many of them over the years, so I can kind of draw koi fish. And if you look at mine that I've drawn, some of them are straight, some of them are curved, some are curved the other way. So, you can do stuff like that. If you decide you want to do sharks are cool too. You can do lots of different designs for those too. But I just want you to be creative. My main thing is I want you to have the layers done by tomorrow. And if you're not going to be here on Friday, then you need to also have your little sea creatures done, and you need to have it completely put together and like sitting on my desk so that when I come in on Friday, I can, see that you're done, because I have to have all my grades in. All right. I will see you all on Friday. Have a wonderful day tomorrow at school, and be good for the sub. Bye.